I quit my six-figure income with no backup plan, and in this video I'm going to share with you what I've learned over the past couple of years as well as what I might have considered doing differently. So let me set the stage for you. A couple of years ago I lived in South Africa. I had an amazing job. In fact, it was my dream job where I was making good income and I had a business and my combined income was closer to $100,000. And at the time I had a nice executive BMW. I was about to buy myself my first Porsche and buy some properties. But then I went on vacation and I just felt that I was pursuing the wrong things. So while I was making good money and while I was able to travel to nice places and I had some great experiences, I wasn't fulfilled. I found myself in a position where, yes, I had a nice bank account and I had some nice assets, but there was just something missing in my life. I remember returning to South Africa from my trip and walking into my boss's office and giving him the news that I quit. And he was taken aback because myself and him, we had mapped out the plan for me to become the head of a particular area in the accounting department at the university. And then in addition to that, I had plans to become a non-executive director on several listed companies, equivalent of Fortune 500 companies in the United States. And so I had this great future mapped out for me, but I just felt an emptiness on the inside of me. I felt that I was pursuing money as opposed to purpose. I felt that, yes, I had nice experiences, I had nice vehicles and things like that, but there was just something missing on the inside of me. So I know lots of people in recent times, because of the economy, that have lost their jobs. They've been retrenched, they've been laid off, whatever you want to call it, even though they've been working at the companies for 15 or more years. In my case, at the university that I worked at, I wasn't deemed replaceable, for lack of a better word, but I know lots of people that think that by being loyal to their companies that they're always going to have their job. It doesn't always work out that way. I had one job in particular outside of the university where I found myself in that position where I put my family first, and that didn't quite work out well with the organization because they wanted me to work longer hours, and as a result of that, it just wasn't a good fit. So if I didn't continue to work longer hours, I could possibly have been laid off. I've also since realized that my time is more valuable than wanting to climb the corporate ladder. I've got lots of friends that have become CEOs, that have become directors and C-suite individuals, and I'm happy for them, but they chose that path. For me personally, that doesn't really interest me because I know in certain instances, if I want to climb the corporate ladder, it's going to require me sacrificing time with my family. And to me, my family is more important. Being able to have time with my kids in the evening and to spend time with my wife in the evening as opposed to working 60+ hour work weeks, I can't even imagine doing that. And so for me personally, I realized that time was more important to me. I've got lots of friends that who I'm happy for, they've chosen the path of climbing the corporate ladder, and their families are okay with not spending as much time together. I also have other friends where they make a lot of money, but they're never able to get off from work, and as a result of that, they're not able to enjoy their resources. But for me personally, my time was more important, or it is more important, than achieving certain accolades or climbing the corporate ladder. Again, not against it, but just for you it might work. For me and my household personally, we realized that wasn't something that we wanted to pursue. Something that I believe is important to mention at this point in time, if you are considering leaving your job, is to ensure that you've got enough savings. And so I want you to have enough money where you can cover your bills as they become due for the next 6 to 9 months. Because if you are leaving your job and you want to become, let's say, an entrepreneur, it might take a bit of time before you start generating enough income to be able to cover your bills. When I moved over, I had some money set aside and I had to tap into my life savings in order to move over to the United States to go to school. Make sure that you've got enough set aside in your emergency fund or in your savings to be able to walk away from your job. And this is even more important if you are a parent, if you are married, because there are other people that might rely on your income. So again, if you are married, let it be a joint decision that you are making, which will benefit your family as a whole. if you've got kids too, you don't want to negatively affect their standard of living because you just want to leave your job. So those are just things that I want you to consider. If you, obviously your circumstances might be different to mine, but again, at the time I was single, I could leave, I could live off Fruit Loops. I remember one time, that's all that I had to eat at school because I didn't have a lot of disposable income. And so as a result of that, I could live off Fruit Loops. But if I had a wife and kids, my choices might have been differently. I would have made the move based on possibly having a certain amount of income in my savings account because I want to be able to provide for my family. I want you to realize, guys, that you are worth much more than your bank account or your assets. And so this was a big one for me because, again, coming from a place where I was about to buy my Porsche and buy some properties to a place where I move over to the United States and I don't have a car, I don't have income coming in, I am walking to places even when it's raining or possibly snowing because I just don't have. I'm not able to do what I did in the past. It was a really humbling experience for me. I also remember when Brittany, my wife, and myself started dating, I didn't have a car. I couldn't take her to nice places. In fact, I had to take a bus to get to her and sometimes a train. And so that was very humbling for me. And I quickly had to realize that my worth was not based on my bank account. She loved me for who I was and not because of what I could give her. In addition to that, my relationship with Brittany, I needed to realize that I was worth a lot more than the house and the car that I drove because I think subconsciously I built up in my mind without me even knowing that true success is based on what you own and possess. But I've since changed my view on that. Yes, I do enjoy nice things, but times have changed. Another humbling experience for me was my first vehicle that I got on the side. Somebody blessed me with, somebody gave me a car and I'm grateful. The thing though with the car is it was a 20-year-old vehicle where the car rattled. Quite often times I wasn't sure if the car was going to get from A to B. Again, humbling. So coming from a position where I was going to buy a Porsche to this, it was a humbling experience for me because I had to realize that the car that I drive doesn't make me a better person. The car that you drive doesn't make you better than me. And so I want you to realize, guys, that your worth is so much more than what you have in your bank account. And it's so much more than the assets that you have. Well, that's a personal lesson for myself. Those things don't give you true fulfillment. Yes, you can enjoy the moment. I go on great holidays. I've got a nice vehicle now again. But my peace and my joy is not found in those things. I'm worth a lot more than that, and you are too. The next lesson that I learned is that there are more ways to make extra income in this day and age in which we live than what there was when I left South Africa. So yes, I believe that you can have a job, but your income is not capped or shouldn't be capped to the income that you make at your job. There are lots of ways that you can make extra income through side hustles, through starting a business, and that's something I've personally done. I've started to learn how to tap into the digital economy by creating online courses, selling books, doing things like affiliate marketing, which doesn't take a lot of my time because my family is my priority. And so I want to spend time with him, but any extra hours, like an hour or two extra in the evenings or per week, sometimes it's just an hour per week, I'm able to generate extra income for my family through these other mechanisms. And so I want you to think about that. If you are somebody considering leaving your job, consider becoming an expert in another area. Consider starting a side hustle, and once your side hustle reaches the point where you are able to cover your bills, maybe that would be the time that you should consider leaving your job. I know a lot of people that we're going to do digital marketing, we're going to start a side hustle and we're just going to leave our jobs, and it doesn't quite work out because it generally takes time to sharpen the skill set or to where you can find yourself in a position where you are generating enough to cover your bills. Yes, there are certain individuals who straight out the bat make an extra $10,000 per month or make even more than that, but those examples are far and few between. I would say be focused and diligent at your job, and then in addition to that, start with your side hustle or your extra income stream on the side, master that, and as you make more money, set aside money for savings to build up that emergency fund or that savings account, And then once you reach the point where you've got enough coming in terms of your income covering your expenses, then you should probably consider, or I would then consider, then leaving my job. So since moving over and coming to school, as I mentioned, I met Brittany, we got married, we got 2 amazing kids. I've actually gone back into the workforce. Not because I have to, but because I want to. I believe that I've got certain skill sets that I've acquired over the years which can help organizations, and so I serve nonprofits in the area of accounting and finance. So I do that as my main source of income at the moment. But in addition to that, I've got my side hustles, I've got my YouTube channels, I've got my courses where I help people with personal finances. So you can do both. There might be a season where you do one or the other, but for me personally and for my household and for most people, I think doing both is an option or a good option to have, because you've got that form of security in terms of, you're going to be able to cover your bills, but the extra income that you're generating through your side hustles and your businesses, you can use to fund your goals. You can use to set aside money so that when you get to the age of retirement, you've got more than enough to be able to sustain your lifestyle. If this video encouraged you or helped you in any way or form, I've recorded a few more videos which is listed on the screen over here, which will help you in your personal finance journey.